This week's episode is brought to you by ThatKevinSmithClub.com. That's right, man. If you can't get enough of the sound of my voice, then you could surf on over to ThatKevinSmithClub.com, join up, watch Wake and Bake, so much more. ThatKevinSmithClub.com. What are you waiting for? Join the club.
Sure.
You've got to throw some cold water on this situation. Start talking about nerd stuff.
You know, nerd culture is mainstream now, so when you use the word...
Hit me!
Episode 355.
You've got to throw some cold water on this situation. Start talking about nerd stuff.
You know, nerd mainstream now, so when you use the word nerd derogatorily, it means you're the one that's out of the zeitgeist.
System activate.
This is NetHeads with Will Wilkins and Trent Hunsaker. It's a tech podcast. But we are a ton cooler than your typical geek.
You guys rock.
And now, here's Will and Trent.
This is Mark Evan Jackson from Everything. You're listening to NetHeads.
Yes, indeed you are. Welcome one and all to another edition once again of NetHeads. My name is Will. And you're muted now. Can't hear you. I can't believe all of that.
And I'm Trent. Gosh dang it.
You know, it's okay, buddy. Sometimes you just can't win for trying. Anyway, once again, welcome to another edition of NetHeads. My name is Will.
And I'm Trent.
If you want to take part in the program, you can one of many ways. But until such time that we all get our invites to Blue Sky and we see what's up there, the main primary one that helps that we at least can track until Elon Musk burns it down is on Twitter. And Trent, tell them how they do that.
Just use the hashtag NetHeads.
Really? That's all you're going to give me?
That's all. That's all. Yeah. They know how the internet works.
Yes, they do. They do. At least we hope they do, because that's how they're either listening or watching us. Listening to or watching us right now. So anyway, Trent. Yeah, you know, it's funny you mentioned that. You know, they know how the internet works. I'm starting to... the general theme of today's installment of NetHeads, if you will.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'd like to say Happy New Year, sir, because I don't think we've actually done a show together yet in 2023.
Yeah, and happy President's Day.
Oh, is this one of the ones that used to be like Lincoln's birthday or something, and then it was, and then they combined?
It's been President's Day for a while, I think.
Well, last Monday was President's Day for me.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of holidays that we've passed. So there was President's Day.
Oh yeah.
And
Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day, Trent.
Yeah. Martin Luther King Jr.'s Day.
Hey, Trent, I gotta say, for those that don't know, if this is your first episode of NetHeads, my name is Will. I live in the San Francisco Bay Area, and that is Trent Hunsaker, and he lives in the Great Cache Valley of Utah in a wonderful little town city called Logan. Oh man, that is going to be a beautiful screenshot for the album artwork later. Thank you for that one, my friend. And so California has been all a, for lack of a better word, Twitter trend, because and I'm enjoying being able to look at your reaction to this, because you know, Trent, in a lot of places that don't normally happen here in California, we've seen snow.
I'm flipping, for those of you listening audibly, I'm flipping the bird directly at the camera with a very serious face. And this is, you know, it's a serious bird because there is no thumb stuck out. It's just a fist and a finger.
No side knuckles. You're not giving it the lazy redneck, as I used to call it, where you make it a platform. You're not up with them. No, you're just full on. Fair. You know what, man? I understand, because for you, snow is an ongoing hell. That is your winter season. But, you know, for us, I was like, I look out my backyard over to the Mount Diablo and the foothills, and it's all powder white, and they're opening keeping the regional park open later because, you know, the kids can go and touch the snow. And what do you got to say about that, Trent?
Bullshit. Bullshit is what it is.
So as people have experienced the novelty of it actually snowing in Disneyland, what has the last week been like for you, Trent?
Well, so this starting about 2 weeks ago, well, maybe it was 3 weeks ago, we were having a normal winter. And within those 3 weeks, we are now on record of having more snowfall than any time in the past 50 years.
That is quite unsurprising considering, as I mentioned, snowing in Disneyland.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised that every bit of water vapor in the sky suddenly just turned to snow as it dropped its white, cold, heartless material all over your life.
Well, and it's so, and it's we're in March now, and so one day it will be, it'll snow, and then the next day it will be below zero, and then 3 days later it'll be above 32, so everything starts to melt. And the people that live next to me have not plowed or removed any of their snow the entire winter, and so but they keep on driving on it, which packs down and just turns into this huge ice chunk. And so all the water starts backing up the drain as it drains out down my driveway, because I keep it nice and clear, and backs up all the way through the street into my driveway now. I got so goddamn mad on Monday. I went out and bought a weed burner for my propane tank that I used for the grill, and just burned a canal down into their driveway. So as everything drains, they'll go into their driveway now, not mine.
Damn.
I was furious.
But Trent, now here's the thing. Now, I completely understand. Hearing your side of the story, I completely understand. You're in a situation where, because of the way things are built and because of the way nature has occurred and due to their laziness, things have just... You are their runoff, but you're not supposed to be their runoff.
Exactly. I'm uphill. They should be my runoff.
Right. Look, man. Again, I completely understand, okay? I completely understand. But we live in a world now where your neighbor's kid could have been there recording a TikTok going, look at what my crazy neighbor is doing as you're blowtorching their property.
Yeah. Well, no, it was all in the street, technically. So I didn't, go on their property at all. I just, I was just clearing out the gutter to let it drain the way it should.
Awesome, man. That is beautiful. But I love that kind of thing, because I'm sure I'm the neighbor everyone complains about. So, I don't want to get into those kind of battles.
Sure.
But
no, I accept that.
But no, there's definitely times where you can also help out your neighbor, or you don't know what to do. Like my own neighbor, actually, the other day, I realized his gate was at about, I'd say, a 48-degree angle instead of a 90. It's not very usual. And
like open or laying down,
like that.
Oh shit!
Yeah, but don't worry. There's a 2x2 bracing it up today, so it's being done. But there was that interim day where I'm like, should I go over and ask him if there's anything I could do? Because you want to be neighborly, you want to be nice. So, but around here, it's just it. I would say now that it is March, today was the very definition of what my marches are like, because mind you, I've been there's a change in the wind, Trent. There's a sense in the air, and like sometime between October and November, that is the quiet transition from cargo short to sweatpants season. Okay.
Yeah.
And then today we started to encroach upon that potential change as well, because even though there was a freeze warning overnight, my wonderful southern-facing wall and everything going on in here just generated a gigantic heat bucket here in the office.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, and like, so now we're starting to teeter, even though there's snow up on that thar peak, my friend. We are starting to teeter into that transition, and soon I'll be once again be commencing battle with my backyard nemesis, the unshaped peach tree.
You got to beat it, and you got to beat it early, Will.
Trent, actually what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be reducing it by 1/3 by way of getting rid of the area. I don't want branches to be continuing what they're doing, but I like their general region. Sure. Because fruit only grows on last year's growth. So I can pretty much write off one season and shape it. I got this ridiculous antenna of a top branch just going straight up. That sumbitch just got to go. and the other two are going to get trimmed, and we're going to start getting some shape into this, all right? If I'm going to be out of shape, the goddamn tree better well be in shape. You know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying.
By the way, for those of you wondering if I'm a little off, I'm playing hurt tonight. I've been dealing with back issues pretty much since Monday. I don't know what it is. I mean, I think I might know what it is, Trent. You know, I said I wanted to get into the thing of better living through the internet, and there's a lot of hazards I think that we really need to start advising people to look out for, or convey our own experience to help them. Because, for example, here in the office, obviously, I've been 3D printing a lot of things. Not obviously, but it will be very soon. And in doing that, I have a wonderful closet here, a 5-foot closet. It's nice and deep. Only problem is it's 96 inches tall, right? So
Right.
I wanted to be able to have full access to the closet area to open it up so I could have some 3D printers in there. Naturally, as one does,
Sure.
as it's becoming more and more common. I'm sure there will be new home sales, and they could say, and over here, sir, could be your 3D nook, you know?
As we call it in my home, the printing closet.
There you go. See, so same exact thing. I got a closet. Let's put our two home run hitters in there, because now there's multiples, Trent. And so I just wanted to be able to close off the closet so that way the noise would at least get to a manageable point. Because I've already gone through a whole story about trying to upgrade the printer. So, but by God, I'll tell you, the internet, and I'm specifically going to shout out the YouTube channel, I Like to Make Stuff. Because the guy there makes it all seem within a tight little window so easy to do. Then I get the false bravado from that, and I start.
I can do that.
Yeah. Not only I can do that, but it's like, you know what? I don't even have to do it that way. I can do it this way instead. And I'll tell you why. The conundrum is that 96 inches, Trent. Because I could technically put another shelf in there and have some high level storage. Okay.
Right.
But if I maintain that 96 inches, this is sounding dirtier and dirtier every time I say that.
I'm just saying, like,
if I'm going to maintain that height, Trent, let's train it up. If I'm going to maintain that height, then it is an out of standard door. I'm sure it's just fine for the cheap ass sliders that were in there, but I wanted bifold doors. Gives you full access, yada, yada, yada. I'll be goddamned if I was going to let this stop me. And I kid you not, the minimum I could find to be delivered to my home, I mean, so that you can actually get them, because everybody involves shipping. Because of that 96 inches, we're talking about a minimum of $1,100. I am not kidding.
So, I mean, that's that's because of the rarity of the door size, or that they would have to actually cut custom doors for you?
It's one of those things. Well, we're in a free market, Trent. There's the thing of supply and demand, and there's only been what that tells you, Trent, with that disparity in price is that the developer of my home was an asshole, because
he had some random leftover somewhere.
It's just going up that tall. I mean, it was great. I understand why, because my office has an artificial closet, as I like to call it. They had to encroach upon the footprint of this room in order to provide water going up at some point in there.
I know what you mean. Yeah,
it might even be load bearing. I don't know, but so my closet kind of encroaches in. Like it's almost like I've got an entrance way over there, because there's like 2 feet that's just inset and then closet.
Yeah.
But it's that 96 inches that screws the whole thing up. So instead, thanks to I Like to Make Stuff, I said, you know what I could do? Because mind you, pricing all this out, it's $20 for a bifold door kit. And that provides you the rails and the hardware you need, and provides you the guidance on how to measure, so you know what the size of each door should be and what the gap is between the doors.
2 doors, so 4 pieces total, 2 sides to each, connected with like a hinge or something in the center.
Exactly.
And then rails on top. Okay.
And the general effect is that they accordion to the side, if you will, for lack, but it's, collapsing. So it will encroach on the footprint of the room from the closet, but doesn't require any other commitment space-wise within the closet. And so I ended up saying, well, instead, what if I just use 2x2s? Oh, those are $14 for 8 feet runs. But what if I just take a construction grade 2x4, sand the living shit out of it, and then use that saw table that for some reason I have to have, and rip those down to 2x2s? And by God, I did, and I got the doors in. And for the backing of the doors, I just used the existing sliders. I took away their hardware, so it was just like whiteboard material, and zipped those suckers down to size, and inset some nice insulated or some sound acoustic panels, so that way not really for dampening the sound, but just making sure there's no reflection right here, but it also does act as a good insulator for just keeping the warmth of the printer in there somewhat. So the internet provides us some dangerous confidence. Do you have a dangerous confidence story from the internet?
Not dangerous, Will, but I did make a purchase because of the internet that arrived yesterday. Already changing my world, Will. Already changing my world.
And what is that, Trent?
If you're not familiar with Project Farm, this guy takes the most scientific approach to sussing out which is the best of something when it comes to back, or when it comes to glue, hot glue, or when it comes to, in this case, well, I purchased my hot glue off of him as well, or because of him. But this time it was electric knife sharpeners.
Oh,
and holy shit balls, man! If I didn't spend all last night just sharpening all the blades in my house, and they are dangerously sharp now, like scary sharp.
You know what though? That makes perfect sense, and I know that because I went the other route, which is the suddenly I've got a double grit-sided stone to a whetstone, to which point then I'm dragging it constantly at that specific angle back and forth.
It was consuming me. Like if I was I just felt like I should be sharpening right now. I should be sharpening right now. Like it was with the whetstone. It was like it became an obsession. I was like, this isn't healthy. I've got to do something. And then you get like a weird blade that doesn't have a 20-inch or a 20-degree angle. It's at some weird angle that you're always trying to find, and you can't quite get it. And, it's been a very fulfilling purchase. So the internet, in this case, emboldened me to just spend money, is what it did.
Well, it's almost as though this is orchestrated, my friend, because you are leading me down to that very primrose path. One of the reasons why I'm foolishly drinking a latte this late at night, Trent, is because of the internet. On both TikTok and I think on Instagram, there is a guy who's also a coffee roaster, and his account, listen very carefully, is soft porn, but POURN. Yes, it is not that type of thing, Trent. It's all about coffee.
So I'm not gonna go to it expecting some light kissing and light petting, but it's gonna be something completely different.
You're not gonna be getting an erection. You're gonna be getting espresso. Thank you. So
both determined to make you stand right up.
So one of the things I've always obsessed about is being able to make a good latte at home, right? Because that way you really lower the cost. And I had thought I had made the best economical decision in getting the Breville Barista Express, I think is the name of it. Mm-hmm. So that way No, exactly. They're good sturdy machines. The only thing you have to realize, it's still not an espresso machine, it's an appliance. So it's very hard for me to even, well, so I wanted to be able to make good espresso, Trent. Okay. That's what I wanted to do, man. All right. Yeah. I wanted to make good espresso at home. So then one of the things I see suddenly is, if you want to try and work on getting a good puck that you're brewing in, then get yourself a training portafilter, okay? It doesn't have the double prongs here. It just is the filter. It holds just the filter. Because the idea is that once you have just a solid single stream coming out, then you've got a well-packed, executed, non-channeling espresso shot, right? So then I get that, but then I learned, oh no, well, if you want to do that, I didn't even bring one of the goddamn things. There's a little whisk that I've got that you do in there, that you do in your fresh grounds in order to ensure you don't have any clumps, right? Because you don't want clumps, because that'll help do channeling. Even look, I know the coffee was just ground, but somehow it's got clumps.
Yeah, because when I ground just to do this, and when you pull it out of the when it drops out, there are pieces that must have been more moist or whatever it was, but that are clumped together. So this is your whisking before you load the puck. Correct?
Exactly. So the fresh espresso has just come down, which, by the way, this is how far the obsession goes, Trent, because then you're not only having the portafilter, but if you've got a 3D printer, you're suddenly doing something where you're 3D printing a collar to go onto this. So now it's funneling all the grounds down. It's not bouncing off the sides. I'm capturing everything. So then I'm whisking it in here. But is that it? No, Trent, of course it isn't, because then they tell you, well, but then to make sure that after all that whisking, the grounds are evenly distributed, you need a weighted distributor like this. You see it's got some angled blades on there.
I have seen those, yeah.
Okay, and it also is heavy, so you can also use it as your tamper if you want. But then they tell you, oh, no, though, you can't use that kind of tamper. You want to use a good 30-pound spring-loaded tamper, so that way it's, it's got to take that amount of pressure to get it to fully execute. And of course, you had to have 3D printed a thing to hold your portafilter to help you do all that crap, right?
Yeah.
You'd think, okay, that's reasonable, Will. I guess you've made a few purchases because you're really pursuing something good for you. But then you might find yourself accepting the challenge of, what if I freeze a stainless steel ball and put it into a stainless steel strainer and then use that training portafilter here to get a single stream of espresso going over that frozen metal to flash the espresso at that first point to help slow down the creation of acids, I think, and make a sweeter espresso. You got to have balls now to brew espresso the way I do, Trent, is what I'm saying.
And not just balls. You've got to have solid steel, ice cold balls.
That's right, man. The worst kind. Or the best kind. I don't know.
So it's a cold brew then, because it's so cold, or how does that work?
No, it just flashes over that frozen surface. So those first strongest parts are hitting that cold. So they're instantly getting cooled, but the rest of the espresso following it up, heat transfers, so instantly that frozen ball is going to start getting warmer.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. And so then in the flash, it's reducing the creation of acids that are being made from the heat, which is one of the main reasons why you don't want to overheat your water, right?
That's my guess, because I was testing all this right ahead of time. And I got to tell you, this is the sweetest damn espresso that I've ever put into a low-carb latte. Sadder statement at the end than I anticipated.
But that's no, it's just like this. That's what's so crazy about coffee making is it's chemistry, man. It is 100% science, dude.
Oh, it is, definitely. Water has to be a specific temperature. You don't want your roasted coffee to be too old. You don't want it to have been ground in advance, because then the oils that are on the beans themselves start to kind of go rancid within. It's so. Let's not get started on the coffee. My whole point is, Trent, after you've seen this entire journey that I have taken, basically because of one Instagrammer, TikToker, my real question to you is, am I a level 7 susceptible? Am I going to suddenly be buying everything Honda? For those of you not in on the joke, Community, the final season that was on Yahoo, we discover the Dean is a level 7 susceptible. He's susceptible to anything and any type of guidance on how you want to direct him. He's basically an unprogrammed Manchurian candidate, just waiting constantly for information.
Yep.
This is a little extreme. Let's not talk about all the 3D damn printers too, man, because let me tell you, okay? Yes, I'm a level 7 susceptible. I know it is now. There is going to be an intervention. I swear to God, I'm going to one day walk out of this office and the family will have just built on a table, like, this is 1 week of Amazon delivery packages from you. And we want you to be able to retire, so stop, right? They're going to do an intervention for me.
it'll be part like part intervention the show and part the hoarders the show, right? So it'll be a little combination of the two.
Yeah, probably, yeah. Thanks,
so
man.
not only will they make you like force some hard questions, but also make you pick stuff and put it in a plastic bag.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, wait a minute, come on. Is there this goes to the throw pile, right?
No, I just bought that. It just arrived 2 weeks ago. You can't get rid of it.
The worst thing that can possibly happen seems to keep happening lately, and that is oh wait, I think I saved something for that, and then by God, Trent, I have lately. Quite a few times. Scarily.
I love it. I love it.
Anyway. I'm really starting to get worried about myself is what I'm saying. And it's all because of the influence of the internet. Like, speaking of which too, Trent, I don't know if you're aware of this, right? But we have a Patreon, okay? We do.
Right.
This is not a shameless ad. I'm just stating.
No. This is
we have a
fact.
Patreon. And at some point, I changed the reward system. There is a level... It's the $10 level and up. So I think it's Bobcat Driver and above. If you don't know what Bobcat Driver is, then if you become a member of the Patreon, all of the back catalog of NetHeads is there, so you could find out what that reference really means. Which, by the way, an unlicensed version of a Bobcat is what is going to be on the back of this year's Patreon supporter challenge coin.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So
like a skid steer, not like a Bobcat, but like a
a skid steer. Let's call a spade, or in this case, a skid steer. But one of the things I had done, I had reset that level because I had said like every quarter you'll get a reward, and then I figured out how unrealistic that was, and I had changed it to 1 year, and I don't think I notified anyone, and so I'm in a situation right now where we're getting caught up. There are going to be, I'm not sure if it's going to be a lot of single packages or one big package, but people have kind of been getting previews. In the back of the scenery behind me is the optical illusion of the coffee mug that's spilling on the table, right? To my right, I have a very small army of baby Groots.
Oh, and they're so cute.
Right. And did they ask for it? No, but you're not going to get it anywhere else.
No.
And by the way, if there's any particular Harry Potter world wand you want, I could line that up. But there is actually one of the things is going to be coffee mugs. This, by the way, is Voldemort's wand, which I just keep showing everywhere I go because I like who puts this together and doesn't say, "Oh yeah, this is going to be a hero that gets this." No, it's got claws.
Yeah, what elf sold that and was like, no, this seems like a good idea?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, the wand picks the wizard, my friend. Oh, look at that. And Zach identified the Elder Wand. Yeah, this is the first one I printed. But then I realized when you see the prop that these are replicating, it's all brown with just white around this rune area. So I printed a brown one. So that way I just got to paint a small white area. That's just logic, Trent.
Yeah. Yes, it's just easier to print another one at that point.
My gosh, is it ever? Because I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One of these Groots is mine. There's 5 others that are going out the door. And actually, one of the other things that I just need to find the right orientation on for printing is in honor of Ant-Man and the Wasp, even though we're not Marvel endorsed, and this is no way a thing, prop replicas of the PIM particle discs.
Oh yeah.
And replicas for the end game scene in lab versions of the PIM particles, the red tubes. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. I found out a way. So I'm doing all of these things as catch up. And part of the reason is because that Anker Make M5 that I got has funded, right? And it arrived, and I got it finally tuned and all working right. And let me tell you how working right it is. These Groots, for example, that I showed you, I can make one of these total in 6 hours on that printer compared to my second fastest printer, which would have taken 14 hours. Okay? Well, that's the latest.
Time.
Yeah, that's kind of the latest that's going on in the industry is we're kind of gearing more towards 3D printers that are now more appliance-like, more ready to use out of the box, a little more understandable to use and kind of provide a little more help. But more importantly, they're also getting faster. So, and on the market right now is basically Bamboo makes two of them. There's a build what you want, which is the P1P, and then there's the X1 Carbon, which is an entirely enclosed utility machine, essentially. You know, they're really like plug and play on doing your prints, okay? So they're really cool. But that speed thing, it really makes a difference because I've almost not used any of the other printers because I'm just like, oh, but this one can just do it in that time and I can manage it there.
Yep.
I'm about to show you something that I literally, when we texted about doing the show, I started printing and it finished right before you came on camera and I just got done doing the gluing. And this is on the fastest printer. This should have taken in excess of 8 hours.
Like a full day, damn near.
I did this.
What?
Yes, that's right. It's Thunderbolt, my friends.
That is awesome.
Right? It also looks quite dangerous. Now, the beautiful thing is if I had license to sell this, which I don't, this is a great starting point because it's gold filament. Yes, it still needs some touch-up work. You got to hit all of the joins, so which means you're going to do filler, sanding, priming, and then probably making gold again. But you know, if I just wanted to sell, I could literally print, and so I can't because I don't have the license, but if I got the license, I could print up the pieces in gold so that if somebody just wants it for a Halloween joke, it's like, here it is for $20. Or if you do want a finished version, you know, for me, I would just do what I can with the seams, and it's just going somewhere back here, right? But it's ridiculous how fast you can do these things now.
Insane, dude. Some of the comic book artists that I follow have fallen down kind of rabbit holes of making their own action figures now, right? To where they're like, and they're like designing and then printing and then making joints for them all and everything. And they're like, oh, I didn't do any work today. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Well, that's
all day like building an action figure instead of like, you know, drawing.
That is what gets dangerous when you start understanding how to use like Fusion 360 in those programs, because like I got so mad, and this is so stupid, because in the world of 3D printing, there are all kinds of files that you can get for free, right?
Yeah.
And then there are ones where people want you to pay them for their design. And most of the time, there's a little more effort, a little more vetting, and they are easier to work with, and the detail is better, right?
Yeah.
So you have these two variables or variants that you can get the content for, and then it's just like once you learn how easy it is to start making these things, I was so mad at a free, mind you, a free model of the Barbasol can from Jurassic Park.
Oh,
right?
Shit, that's a great, yeah.
Right, but my complaint about it, Trent, and this is so pedantic and stupid, is that like their free version has the logoing emblazoned in. You can't see it because my lights are too bright. Instead of just being blank, so you could just do a label on it instead of to more replicate. But also the can version they did at the top is actually a more modern version. It's actually a more modern version because the actual can was actually, it was a squattier transition and it was far more rounded. You see, so I ended up losing, I'd say 8 hours of my life because I was trying to see what it would take to make a better one. And I almost did. I've just got to thicken 2 walls and it's done. But now think about this, though. Now it's at the point because the 3D printing. God, I'm sorry this became such a 3D printing tangent, but the 3D printing world has made it so that people can create things. They can literally start modeling in apps on their iPads with a pencil. So they can actually literally do sculpting and then start working towards making that something that prints well. Because there's one of two things you're going to get. You're going to get something that prints really well, but it's a real pain in the ass to do with supports. Or you're going to get something like the Elder Wand, which the way they give it to you is in pieces that are shaped where, yeah, it's an overhang if you print it this way, or it's a smooth transition that requires no supports if it prints this way, right? So And that is great craftsmanship. But like just being able to, we live in a world where you can so rapidly go from concept to execution. Like here is the prototype, or you know, hey, am I going to like this? Or oh my gosh, we need to replace this lightning outlet or light switch outlet cover, and you print one up.
And you're good to go. Yep. Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
honestly speaking, I knocked one off the door, and Benjamin the other day brought me over. This is just for hanging my robe on the back of the door.
Yep.
And well, actually, Will Kent, your ever roommate Will Kent, is a 3D printer, right? So I'm sure, like, what are some of the things that like he prints up?
The other day, and I'll share this on Twitter later. A picture.
Yeah, why would we paste it into the show? That would be stupid.
Yeah, I went to the bathroom in the middle of the night, and the magic printing elves had printed out a very accurate looking representation of the iconic ghost scene of Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore, where they're like shaping.
Where they're like making clay.
Yeah, but instead of Demi Moore and Patrick Swayze, it's Prince. It's He-Man and Skeletor.
Trent, I don't want to shock you with how fast I have been able to more than likely throw this together. But if you want to tell us a little more about the detail, I'll probably have it on the screen in just like 2 shakes of a dragon's tail.
Yeah. So there's the pot it's all kind of one piece. I think it was all one piece print, and then you've got He-Man is sitting up front. He's the Demi Moore in this case, and he's shaping the clay. And then you've got Skeletor sitting behind, and he's got one arm that's just kind of up on the shoulder, I believe, and it's really flexing his biceps, so it looks really, really good. And then the other hand is stretching down for He-Man's hand.
Yeah, if you're gonna be holding He-Man, man,
right.
you gotta you want to see the gun show, plain and simple.
Yeah, I mean that goes without saying.
And ladies and gentlemen, here is what Trent ended up walking in on. That's it right there.
Yeah, that's the one. Yep.
Let me adjust it up. Yeah, okay, so I can see some layer lines. So he probably printed it at 0.2 millimeters. That's fine though. My question though is there a use case that he had planned here, or is this going to be is this like a major award? What's going on? Or was it just like best not to ask? Let's move on.
We still haven't talked about it. It's still sitting on the bathroom window or mirror right there. But here another perfect example though. I'm into shaping my 5150 hats, my new era hats, and so I had a bump cap already, but I needed something to hold the shape, and he printed out a hat jack for me. I don't know if we've talked about this before.
Trent, I'm afraid we've done the show so infrequently. You have looped back. Well, that's okay. I'm sure I've told the closet's door story across at least 3 different forms of media now, so it's fine.
Okay.
But that's the way it is. But that's okay, Trent, and that's fine. And I understand you guys haven't talked. Kind of like when you accidentally walk in on your roommate in the shower. There are just some things you don't address after the fact, right? That's just you let it.
It's never an accident, but it happens very often.
My only question is like, no, I really do have a question now, because it's like I really want to know: is it that there's a legitimate reason why he printed it out, or did he see the model and then he's like, I'm gonna print this out and I'm just gonna set it on the nook right by the bathroom, and I'm not gonna say anything.
It wouldn't surprise me. I know, because he's one of the coaches for the high school hockey team here, and he makes trophies for awards at the end of the year for all the different students.
You told us that before too. I'm sure I did. I'm sure I've talked about the 3D prints before too, so it's okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what else. Anyway,
it's okay. I'll start sending you notes of recently discussed topics, just like we did for Papa. Just a little while there. Help him have a good front for everyone.
Help him remember where his keys were.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, oh my gosh. Hey, Trent, did you hear that?
Hear what?
Somebody just dropped an ad.
Hey, man, let me just jump in here for a sec to remind you, jayandsilentbob.com, ladies and gentlemen. You want to buy anything Clerks related, anything Jay and Silent Bob related, anything Kevin Smith related, go to jayandsilentbob.com. Now back to the show.
So, Trent, what else is going on in your world? Because for those that have been wondering, like the reason why we don't do a lot of NetHeads lately is one, we've got lives, but two, not only does Trent have a life, but he's also got a lot of night shoots. So
yeah. So I do have a lot of night shoots. So because there are classes going on at night, and if it's an asynchronous class, that means it needs to be available both in person and online. And for those online people, because it's a state university, it's a not just state but a land grant university. It has to be accessible to the people. So I have to go and shoot the stuff while it's happening and what yada yada yada. Anyway, a lot of that going on, but like it's weird because like when I was in PR and marketing, and even when I was in sales, like I felt like I had to be like so dialed into everything that like I was on the cusp of the zeitgeist, if you will, of popular culture. Right?
I've heard the term.
And now case in point, I didn't even know that Cocaine Bear was a thing until my colleague said he'd got tickets to go see it. And I was like, what's a Cocaine Bear?
I really feel like I missed out on something because I wasn't one of the people who was able to come back Monday and say, hey, what'd you guys see this weekend? Because I saw frickin' Cocaine Bear.
Yeah, dude. And that's exactly the way he came back talking about it, too. Just saying it was like the dumbest, most fun movie ever.
Well, I think when you decide to write a story inspired by the real life event of a bear that ended up doing cocaine because of a drug drop gone wrong kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think if you're going to go for a schlock film in that direction, when you go Cocaine Bear, you have to fully commit.
Yeah.
Unlike 100%. Previous advice you may have heard about not going full something, if you're going to Cocaine Bear, you've got to go full Cocaine Bear.
Go full. You go full Ursa Cocainus.
Yeah, it's got to be campy. It's got to be gory. It's got to slightly push the envelope while still maintaining humor. It's still got to make you have those moments where you regret looking at the screen. It's got to have all that. I honestly thought the first time I started seeing elements or hints, if you will, of Cocaine Bear, the early PR release, I thought it was a joke. I really thought it was a joke. That's the age threshold I've crossed, where actual media, I think, is parody. That's where I am. So pretty soon,
but at least you're not to the point where you're just believing it as news.
Yeah. Well, good point. But I'm right there at the precipice, my friend. I like that. Bobo Dillagaff says in the chat, you got to go full Cocaine Bear. Indeed. That's the inscription I want on my tombstone. Will Wilkins, loving father, a husband. You got to go full Cocaine Bear. I think that's fitting tribute to me.
Yeah. Oh, if not, at least to have the epitaph be, he went full Cocaine Bear.
Well, you do know, and I'm just checking. Okay, now I feel like another thing we got to do. Okay, so possibly the future direction we're talking about is better living through the internet. What are the things, the hits, the tips, the tricks, the gadgets, if you will.
Yeah.
All of these things. Oh my God, Trent. First of all, two things. Have you been aware of the fact that I am completely not obsessed, but at seemingly at the mercy of sourdough starter? Have we even discussed this?
It's really funny you say this because just last month I did a class, like shot and helped create a class on fermented foods. One day it was totally dedicated to sourdough starts.
I am not surprised. Now, I will, because it sounds like we haven't discussed this, I will give you the quick recap because long-time NetHeads have heard the whole thing. Long story short, trying to go for better pizza dough for Blair because she loves Dad's pizza, quote unquote. So I thought, sourdough pizza. So that is how I got started in developing a sourdough starter. and now making sourdough with it because I'm just using it for the discard. But then you start thinking, but could I make bread? And then you find out how easy it is to make bread. And you realize one of the biggest cons in modern America is the fact that they made us believe we had to buy bread.
Yep. 100%, dude. Yeah. Yep. In fact, if you may not know, if you are at risk of like type 2 diabetes, or you want to lower your glucosamine, sourdough bread, it releases the glucamine into your body much more slowly than regular white bread does. So it's a better delivery device of that sugar into your blood than regular white bread. So like my nephew who has a dead pancreas, that's what all of his bread is sourdough bread, because it helps maintain his levels better. It's like there's so much science behind not just the making, but like the benefits too of fermented foods, in principally sourdough. Plus, because it's so easy.
Well, I'm glad you're making me feel better about this, because trying to get that starter developed is a thing. It's because it's like every day, every 12 to 24 hours, you're feeding this thing. And then, before you bake, you gotta, if you're going to bake with it, then you really got to feed it. You got to pump that make sure it's bubbling goo, if you will. So I feel as though I have just been at the complete and absolute mercy of sourdough starter because of getting obsessed with making bread. But it's paying off, because right now, actually I would say this though, okay? Even though I've kind of been evangelizing, if you will, making bread at home, even if it's not sourdough, my gosh, if you've got yeast, and then flour, water, salt, and maybe oil in some cases, you have the fixins for just making bread, folks. Just bread. Doesn't have to be sourdough. Doesn't have to be complex. But I think there is a good life lesson, though, in making bread. My family has been giving me grief. They're like, why do you keep making bread? You're not even supposed to eat bread. Why? And it's because of the process, okay? And the science and the making of something from nothing. But I'll say this as a life lesson. One of the things I would take away from if you decide to make your own bread is that it is a great lesson in the reason why you have to specifically put in the time, but you also have to bring patience to the process in order to achieve an optimum result. And I think that's something that would apply in all of life if you think about it that way.
Yeah, I mean, it's especially I think when we see like, it's like you just said, when we were talking about the 3D printing stuff, like things are becoming more appliance-esque, right? You don't have to be a professional whatever to be able to do it, but to do it well, you still have to put in the time and the practice and the forethought and everything. You know what I mean? Like things are easy, but they're not perfect.
Yeah, and
you've got to be able to have the patience to do it.
Right, exactly. That's the important part. You have to remember that sometimes in life, you do have to stop in order to achieve your goal. Actually, I almost feel like I'm speaking directly to you, Trent, when I say that one. Sometimes you have to stop to achieve the goal.
So true.
Yeah. And that's a funny joke, because the other night I'm like, hey, Trent, you want to do this? He's like, well, I could do it like at this time. And I'm like, what about this? And then my back got in the way, and he's just like, I'm like, you're probably relieved, because you're just like, okay, because after this you would have just had some coffee and then gone to editing. And he's like, you know me so well.
You know me, Will. If I'm awake, I'm editing.
So Trent, just remember, sometimes you have to stop to reach that end goal.
What is the term?
Excuse me.
A bow that is always strung loses its something or other.
Strength?
Anyway, you gotta
would be my guess.
Yeah, you gotta loosen your bow once in a while. Loosen your string.
Anyway, this whole thing with the bread is paying off once again, though, because right now I'm waiting patiently for 2 more loaf-like loaves to finish their final rise, because Blair is very particular in her food choices. And so she likes sourdough toast. And I don't know what's going on right now, but in my area, there's a shortage of sourdough bread of all things.
Yeah, dude. Oh man, sourdough's the best. Anecdotally, sourdough is a huge part of Utah culture.
Really?
In that, so the people that settled the area were pioneers, Mormon pioneers, and so theoretically, the start that my mom uses came over the prairie or whatever with those original pioneers in the 1860s.
Oh, wow. So your mom is maintaining a family starter.
Yeah. Yep.
What I did, I just went on Amazon and I got like sourdough bread cultures. And so it was, I just started that with flour and water.
Yeah.
You know,
which is all it is.
And by the way, you can also just go online, and I think even through Amazon, you can just buy a starter. Like somebody pre-started a starter, and it is amazing how hardy they are, because you could basically receive like 2 tablespoons of the starter, and within a week you'll have a full viable starter.
And a start is kind of like having a low stakes pet.
It really is, because you're like,
you know
it's just like, okay, I'm gonna feed you now, buddy. And you know what? I'll check back in a couple hours to see how you're feeling. How was today's stretch? How high did you go, pal? Huh?
Yeah, and you get like you see their growth, and so you can feel like you're taking part in that. But you don't have to like love it. You just put it in the fridge and forget about it for a while.
Well, now you make me. I think that I have to at a minimum, because Emily gives me crap about making the bread. So I'm thinking I need to get Blair into making the bread, so that way she will carry my starter on. It's
like, at least in culture around here, is like, there's a big sourdough culture in and of itself, but like also the heritage side of like, this is how the pioneers ate all their bread, was through this, and blah blah blah. And so that's it's
that actually thing. But that makes perfect sense if you think about it, because it's like you start out your day, you go through the whole process. Basically, there's a point where you're making bread and then you're just feeding your starter again, right? But it would make sense, because you could feed your starter in the morning, and by the time after you're done with a day of riding, your starter's ready to start on the next day's bread.
Yep.
So, which is not quite the cycle I've ever been willing to maintain, but holy crap, have I gone through an F ton of flour.
Oh yeah, it gobbles it up, man.
But I'm also getting very good and scientific about the bread that I'll make, the amount of starter I'll need, and the amount of what's left behind.
For the start.
Yeah.
To continue.
For the maintenance. So I've gotten really good at, this is what my life has become. I'm buying specialized jars. Trent, I'm really worried. I'm really worried, because I'm sitting around the house 3D printing knickknacks and making bread.
Well, I'd like to think these are not problems, Will. These are solutions.
Well, conquering. By the way, I don't know if I ever finished it, but grand total, it was $40 parts and labor to build the doors, not counting the cost of the foam. Compared to over $1,000.
Yeah. To have it delivered.
And no, these would not be the closet doors that would be here if somebody were to buy the house, if I were selling it, but Trent, they may not be good, but they're good enough for me.
If you can't be with the one you love the one you're with.
That's pretty much it. No, they work great though. They dampen out the sound. But I just wanted to. I realized. Wait a second. Did I even say I did it all for $40?
Yeah. Close that loop.
Yeah. Well, the completist in me wants to make sure the show does have a complete cycle.
Sure.
So what I was saying a little while ago, before I suddenly started talking about bread again, other than the fact that I was thinking I've got loaves in there, and I really am. I'm taking my time to make sure these kind of get big again on that final rise, because it was a lot of manipulation. I'm slipping into the bread vortex again. Evac.
Get him out.
Man, stay on target. What I was going now? God, now I got to remember what I was saying again. We're too late in the day, Trent, and I haven't been sleeping well. And I got to tell you, if there's one of the most wonderful things that will help disrupt your sleep is back pain. Because every time you move, whammo.
I can't even. Yeah, like my baby sciatica. I can't even imagine what a real problem would be like.
Okay, I got it. I know what it is now. But thank you. Yeah, sciatica sucks, and the back pain. I'm just having some temporary thing. I think it's repercussions for making the doors, because you know, it's still a lot of lifting boards, pushing them through the table saw, and then fitting these things.
And being bent over.
Yeah.
Table,
not only for the table, but also pulling out the old track, getting the new holders in, and, you know, each door, so the two doors combined into the one piece, they're somewhere shy of, I think they're about 40 pounds combined. And you got to keep lifting those. So I think it's retribution for that. I'm sorry to get on that tangent now. What I was going to say is one of the things we should do, if this is the pattern we're going to keep up, is we should kind of start not only telling people about like the ways that we're living through a better internet or the ways we're broke or through a better internet. But the other thing too is just kind of like a check-in. So if you didn't know what Cocaine Bear was happening, then it's a segment of like, did Trent know?
Oh, yeah, right, yeah.
And then I'll ask you questions about things that have happened since the last time we've talked. But it'll be not only educational, but then it will also be an item of, we'll make it a game. Because I'll ask, basically it will be is this really a thing that happened since the last time we talked or not?
Yeah, and it will also be a good gauge, too, of like, was this culturally big enough to break through?
That's true.
Very curated realm.
Okay, so and then like this isn't an example because obviously, like I said, it's got to be more. There's got to be more production than just coming up with a name,
right? Yeah.
But like, so you're aware Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania dropped.
I didn't know if it had. I knew it was on the docket to come out. I didn't know that it had released.
It did. It released all over us, not over the holiday weekend, the President's Day weekend.
Oh, okay, sure.
And I think they did a good job considering the bar that I had set was it's an Ant-Man movie.
Right. Yeah.
That was my bar. That's where I was.
Scott Lang movie, right? It's not Hank Pym, and they're not going to make a Scott O'Grady Hank because that's not going to happen.
No. So, but yeah, it was still Scott Lang, and it was a good story. I enjoyed it. I had fun. I think they have MODOK in this one, Trent. And
what?
Honest to fucking God, I'm pardon my French, everyone, but you didn't know that? I mean, dude, it was even in the last trailer or two.
What?
Yes, they found out a way to do MODOK in the MCU, which is. Honestly speaking,
if it's not a giant head in a chair, I don't want to see it.
Okay, Trent, you say you live in a spoiler-free world. Do I want to unleash one little spoiler within our program?
Of course.
Okay, do you remember Darren Cross from the first movie?
Darren Cross.
The Yellow Jacket.
Oh, yeah.
And you remember what kind of happened to him at the end?
That's right. Oh my God.
Kang found him, rebuilt him as the Machine.
I love it. I love it so much.
Yep. Only for killing.
He's a mobile organism designed only for killing folks.
Yep. And
he's
and he is. Which Scott Lang does chime in with, well, it's actually MODOK.
With the F, yeah.
But it makes sense when you think about it, right? It's the only way they can really pull it off. So, like through his little quantum incident, he got malformed, not broken and crushed the way I thought, and Kang made him work. So, did you know Kang was in the movie?
I did know that actually. Yeah,
okay.
that was mostly out of like, this is in honor of the Ant-Man artists that I follow are releasing all their Kang like photos there or things they've done.
Okay. All right. Enough about the Ant-Man. So what else is... Did you know that The Mandalorian Season 3 Episode 1 dropped yesterday?
No. That one didn't even know that 3 was coming this soon.
Not only is it dropped, but I don't know the machinations that went on at Star Wars. Basically, the rumor mill that we have heard is that, Favreau and Filoni were doing their thing, but when it came to Book of Boba Fett, that was more of a Kathleen Kennedy situation. Right. And she's like, no, we got to bring the Mandalorian in and bring the cute little thing back. So when you do finally get there, and no spoilers, anybody, this first episode, it's almost like we should get an extra episode because it was nothing but the exposition episode. It was
establish where we're at and what's going on.
Well, because if you think about it, if people didn't watch Book of Boba Fett, that series ended with Grogu going off with Luke Skywalker, Mando on his own. And,
that's right, yeah.
And then in Book of Boba Fett, he chose him. And then there is something that happens in the show that apparently Favreau had to drop for some continuity control. Because he's like, yeah, just so you guys know, like Grogu was with Luke for 2 years. Basically because Navarro is like, what the hell? This doesn't look like a desert place anymore. Anyway, so that happened. Yeah. All right, so now here's the one that really is going to test the boundaries. Okay, are you ready? Let's get his reaction on this one, folks. This will be the last question we'll be taking for the day. Thank you very much for your submissions. Greatly appreciated. Are you aware of the fact that Kevin Smith is 5 weeks weed free?
You know what? I was not until it got sent to me, and then they're like, "Hey, do you know this?" I was like, "I do now."
There you go.
Someone had to break through my. That being said, that same day that I found out, I saw it in his feed. So I would have found out. I saw it in my Instagram.
Okay, but no. See, that's great because that's one of the things. So this does look.
It was big enough. Oh yeah, it made it through. For sure.
Okay, so and I got to figure out the machinations of this entire game because it's like there are certain things. So it's like, okay, so was he aware of it? Did it break through? And and here's what we could do. We could have listeners submit for prizes because apparently, I'm just in manufacturing now. But they get some surprises. So if, all you do is you get to like pick a line. You don't even know what the question will be, but you can pick line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Got to figure out. We got to do this in a manner where it's not gambling. We don't get busted.
Right.
Hey, we got a special room for that.
And we call it sweepstakes.
But then if they figure out which one of the questions, if they guess the one that where it's the question that did get through, so maybe they could know it in advance. They could. But then it seems like really we're placing bets on it. And anyway, I'll figure it out. But then they potentially could win a prize. Okay. Because, I don't know if you know, this show was a lot better when we were doing a constant game show, in my opinion. I'm just saying.
It just got expensive.
Trent, I'm telling you, people, no, only one person ever won. It was the genius of the game. What I just described is I'm setting myself up for more work for time I don't have. I'm an idiot, but thankfully people still listen or watch.
And God bless them.
Yeah. I see the dogs are restless, which is always the indicator, folks, that it is time for us to wrap up the program. We've gone as long as a dog's bladder will tolerate, which is that is actually what's going to be on my tombstone. Went as long as a dog's bladder could tolerate. But no joke, I probably have to let Benny out too. So, we got dogs to deal with, folks. So until next time, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much for tuning in. My name is Will.
And I'm Trent.
And we will be back
soon.
This is NetHeads with Will Wilkins and Trent Hunsaker. Signing off. I know, right? But stop being a little Nancy and deal with it. NetHeads. We'll be back soon.
Goodbye.
This has been a Smodco Internet production. Sip. Only at smodcast.com. Usually we don't do a stinger that's very visually oriented, but since this is the first time we've ever done pre-roll ads or pre-recorded ads in the show, let's show everyone a recreation of the awkwardness of us sitting in silence while we're waiting for the ad to play out. This is pretty much what it looked like, but him without the dogs, guys. It's a quick one that I would chime in with that, and then it would be done.
Oh, the good boy.
Good boy.